Harrison, and I'm the Director of Education and Outreach for the Eno River Association.
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey Vaughn. I'm an AmeriCorps member serving at the Eno River Association as an environmental educator.
So the Eno River flows just under 40 miles long. It makes its way from northern Orange County down through Hillsborough and eastward towards Durham. It flows across Durham and then makes its way all the way to the east and flows eventually into Falls Lake.
Rivers are critically important parts of our landscapes, and working for the Eno River Association means that we work very hard to protect and preserve the Eno River, as well as to educate others about why protecting it is so important. And a key part of this is ensuring that the Eno and its associated streams are healthy, which means that we have to also consider various threats that the river faces. So today we're going to be talking to you guys about a few of those threats, including impervious surfaces and stormwater runoff, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we can mitigate some of the negative effects of stormwater runoff so that we can make sure that the Eno is safe and healthy and protected for us and for future generations.
Today we're out on the river on the east side of Eno River State Park, where the river makes its way down to Sennett's Hole and eventually to West Point on the Eno City Park.
Yeah, so the area where we are standing right now is a really, really good example of what a healthy stream or river ecosystem looks like. And today we're going to be going into the river a little bit and taking some footage of us looking for different organisms, like maybe some macroinvertebrates. We've also seen some fish out here. We've seen some cool birds. And then we're also going to be showing you guys some of the features that might indicate what a healthy stream or river ecosystem looks like here within the Eno.
Fresh flowing water, along with a variety of rocks, grasses, and other debris, slow the flow in some areas, creating calmer water that is ideal habitat for small, sensitive organisms to reproduce and feed. Sensitive, soft-bodied insect larvae grow and flourish while small fish make a meal of some. Birds and other larger predators utilize the fresh flowing waters to feed on fish and mollusks and to get a drink from the river. The organisms who make their home in the Eno can tell us a lot about the quality of the water flowing through the river. These animals are known as indicator species. The Eno is full of tiny invertebrates, some of which can tolerate a range of water quality like blackfly larvae and crayfish. However, other species like stonefly nymphs and caddisfly larvae cannot tolerate much pollution or changes in water quality. We found quite a few of these today, indicating good water quality in the Eno River.
Even though the Eno has good water quality in many places, it still faces many challenges and threats that could potentially negatively impact water quality in the future. One of the biggest threats stems from land development, which often involves the creation of large amounts of impervious surfaces. An impervious surface is basically an artificially created hard structure that prevents the absorption of water underneath that surface into the ground and into the soil. And examples include paved surfaces like roads and sidewalks and parking lots, as well as rooftops. So when an area of land is covered in a large amount of impervious surfaces and a precipitation event occurs, basically that water is unable to soak through to the ground, and instead it runs along the impervious surface into a storm drain, and from there it goes into our local waterways such as the Eno. Now there are a lot of problems with this. For example, as that water runs along the impervious surface, it's going to collect different pollutants and sediments and toxins that could potentially harm local flora and fauna once it reaches the river, and it could also lead to problems with drinking water. Now there's also an increased risk of flooding associated with stormwater runoff because large amounts of water are dumping into the river at the same time and aren't being soaked through to the ground. However, there are lots of ways that we can combat some of the negative effects of stormwater runoff and impervious surfaces, and one of those ways is through the use of a tool called a rain garden. So in the next portion of the video, Robert Meehan from the Ellerbe Creek Watershed Association will be talking to you guys a little bit about rain gardens.
Hey, my name is Robert, and I'm the Water Management Specialist over at the Ellerbe Creek Watershed Association. We are in the middle of downtown, and I am standing in a rain garden. A rain garden is a shallow depression in the ground that captures stormwater runoff from impervious surfaces like buildings, roofs, sidewalks, and parking lots, and then infiltrates that stormwater runoff into the ground. This sort of practice can mitigate some of the negative effects we see from stormwater runoff. A lot of times stormwater runoff brings pollutants, toxins, nutrients, and sediments into our stormwater system, and that can be detrimental to the water quality of our local creeks and rivers. But a rain garden can act like a sponge and filter out these pollutants so that when the water does eventually reach our creeks and rivers, it does so as clean water. In a rain garden like this one, we use plants that are native to our area because they're hardier and can survive our long, hot summers and cold winters. These plants also need to be able to survive underwater for days at a time because a rain garden will retain water as it infiltrates into the ground. For us at Ellerbe Creek, this sort of practice is very important because we strive to improve the water quality of our local creek, make it a better place for wildlife to live in and for our local community to enjoy.
As we just heard from Robert, rain gardens can be a really valuable tool in helping to mitigate some of the negative effects of stormwater runoff and impervious surfaces, but there are more things that we can do. First and foremost, it's really important that as community members, we speak up when land development has the potential to negatively impact our local waterways, our environment, and in turn negatively impact us. Minimizing the input of impervious surfaces during land development is key, and it's also really important that we encourage developers to not encroach upon the forests surrounding streams and rivers, as those forests act as really important buffers between our important waterways and human activity. At home, you can do things like get a rain barrel to help catch rainwater falling off of your roof. You can also replace green lawns with native vegetation and plant trees to help absorb water. It's also really important to talk about these issues and to be aware of the potential for serious damage to our waterways if we don't keep impervious surfaces and stormwater runoff in check. Working together in community to prioritize the health of rivers like the Eno and its associated streams is a really important step in ensuring the well-being of our community members and in helping to protect the wonderful and important plants and animals that call the Eno home.